Welcome to High Gluttony. I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Becca, and we're two curious ladies who like to cook,
Smoke,
learn,
and enjoy a meal with friends.
We invite you to join us every 10 days or so here at the High Gluttony Homestead and listen to us make a mess.
And have a lot of fun. So step inside, Gluttoneers.
Hello, Gretchen.
Hello, Becca. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to see you. How's it going?
It's going great. Enjoying this nice fall weather we're having around November 1st. Knock on wood that we're actually having fall weather on November 1st.
But it is fall, and we've been wanting to make this dish, some version of this dish, for a while now. We've been talking about risotto for a long time.
Yeah.
Months.
Years. Yeah.
Years. Decades. We found a pretty fun recipe that includes squash and apples. So this is the perfect time to be using those two ingredients. And I'm super excited to do this with you. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to test some new things out. And we've been in our Marcella series, so we're a little bit coming up for air, but don't worry, we still can't get too far away from Marcella. But
she will make at least one appearance in this episode because it is risotto. She is our Italian cooking queen. We did have to consult with her, but here's the shocker. We're not using her thing. So we're consulting with her, but we are not using her method because we're going all the way back to Kenji Lopez-Alt, our dear, dear scientific friend.
It's been too long, dear friend. It's been too long. Good to see you again, Kenji.
We can blame our other friends over at the Savor podcast for making me revise our entire methodology the night before we were recording.
And just a reminder, we say friend. None of these people know us.
No.
They don't know us at all.
Don't know we exist in any way, shape, or form.
So we're already excited. This is going to be a fun one. Let's set the stage. What are you smoking over there to just relax and make risotto and enjoy this fall day?
I'm having a couple of hits off of my gifted hash-infused pre-roll of Maui Wowie. And my friend Jess gave this to me because she was like, this shit smells insane. And it smells like candy. I had a little bit earlier this morning, and it was so tasty. And I was really glad that I finally realized after I lit it that it had hash all over the outside. So I was very careful about how much I consumed. And I will continue to be careful about how much I'm consuming. So I'm going to take a couple hits off of that, and hopefully that'll coast me through. But I had a very fun time this morning, so I was like, I'm going to do it again.
So here we go.
Becca is probably going to be running the show in 15 minutes. We'll see how it goes. But what are you enjoying, Becca, while I light up over here?
I am enjoying some Girl Scout cookies. It is quite pleasant today. It's got some caryophyllene, limonene, myrcene, no CBD, unfortunately, but it does have 23.5% THC. I'm having fun. I'm feeling good. And I'm excited to see how your Maui Wowie is going to go. I wish I could smell it. I can tell you're enjoying it. I can see like the smell in the air from your face.
It's so good. I'm like, it smells so good. I don't know what these people did to this weed when it was growing, but oh man, it's like making me horny. It smells so good. Like, this is not how this usually goes, but
no, we are all learning a lot.
But it smells like pineapple candy. It's delicious.
Yum. And what are we washing that down with? We're kind of, well, now that I think about it, we picked a vermouth cocktail because we were going to use vermouth in our risotto. And now we're not using vermouth in our risotto. But it's still tasty.
It seemed like also a suitably fall-like beverage with, it has a little sherry, it has a little vermouth, and just a splash of bitters and a nice orange twist. I don't know. It's very fall-like to me. Yeah, we kind of picked it because there was vermouth in the other one, the other recipe, and now we're kind of not doing that, but only because we're just not. There's no reason you couldn't use vermouth in your risotto.
We just looked up vermouth cocktails and settled on one called the Adonis, and it has a fun little story. Did you read that one?
I did read it. This cocktail was named after the 1884 Broadway show by William Gill called Adonis, often cited as the first Broadway musical. Didn't know that.
Same.
What? Yeah. While the show was in production, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel created the cocktail in its honor. So we have 2 ounces of Fino sherry that's going in there. They are highly recommending the Cisano Rosso vermouth. I just used whatever I have here. 2 dashes of orange bitters. You're going to put that on ice and mix until cold. Strain into a chilled coupe or chilled other glass because neither one of us has coupes in the house. Twist a 1-inch strip of orange peel over the cocktail. Drop the peel into the glass. My orange peel is like 5 inches long. I did not pay attention to that.
I also didn't realize there was orange needed for this, so I didn't get any. And I told Gretchen I don't have oranges for this, and she was like, I got a whole bag of orange.
Yeah. And then realized I didn't even need the juice. I only needed the peel. Oops.
Well, if you've got it, you might as well use 5 inches of it then.
Right? I have 12 more oranges to deal with.
Okay, so big day. Gretchen, what is a risotto? And how is it different from a pasta or a stir fry?
Wow, bringing in stir fry. That's quite the...
You don't really have to identify the differences. Just like, what is it?
This is a creamy style rice dish, which has a habit of being a bit of a stodgy, heavy dish. But one of the things that people fail to realize about risotto is it should be a fairly thin, as you said, soupy consistency. It should have a wave to it when you cook it. You should be able to sort of toss it and produce a wave in the rice while you're cooking it. That was the way it was described when I was in culinary school. I was on the risotto station at the Caterina de Medici restaurant at the CIA. So I am well versed in risotto. But yeah, today we're making it in exactly not the way that I was taught to make it.
So risotto is a creamy rice dish that is a soupy consistency in some ways because what you're doing is slowly cooking that rice into the broth and building a lot of starchiness, right?
Right.
Okay.
Risotto contains short-grained rice, broth, aromatics of some sort, whether it's shallot or onion. Garlic is sometimes used. You have to toast the rice a little bit before you actually add the liquid. And the traditional accepted method is to add a little bit of broth at a time while stirring in order to produce the creaminess of this dish.
Awesome. That makes perfect sense. When you were saying it should have like a ripple or a wave when you kind of like toss it a little bit, it's a fine line between getting that ripple, that soupiness, and ending up with like a mashed potato kind of thing where you're like digging through this like thick rice, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a little bit of a theory, and I'll try and stay mostly on track here, but that the slow addition of liquid is a good thing for inexperienced chefs to do, so that if you are not used to paying attention, you're literally watching it cook. My preferred method of making risotto, which is I think an Instapot, you can make very creamy risotto without having to do any stirring whatsoever.
So a little bit revolutionary, not only to us, but to like risotto heads across the world, that like you can just do it in an instant pot. You said short grain rice, aromatics, and broth, and then you can kind of make it your own from there, because we've seen like a seafood, a veggie, a beef, like all these different versions of toppings and stuff that can go with a risotto. In most of the recipes that I see, it calls specifically for arborio rice as the short grain.
Arborio rice is the most widely available, easy to get. It's thrown out as pretty much the only rice for risotto. So much so that that's the only rice I've ever used for risotto. Haven't really gone out of my way to seek the other varieties. I've just really worked with arborio, and that was because I thought that was the best one.
I thought that was the only one.
I thought there were only two. I'm not that much further ahead of you. The other more commonly used variety is carnaroli rice, which actually was developed in 1945. So this is a second type of rice you can find. And I skipped over something that Becca was like, oh no, if you even say this word, you're going to put everybody to sleep. But the two starches that exist in rice are sort of why you would prefer one rice over the other. Let's talk about that real quick before I go any further on the arborio versus carnaroli. You have amylopectin and amylose. I almost said amylase, but that's something else. Amylose. The amylopectin is what is the part that makes the creamy part happen in risotto. It is present in pretty much every rice, but the proportions are what determine the differences. The amylose is sort of what helps keep the rice in its riciness, its rice shape.
So one helps it get to that creaminess level, and the other one helps it maintain its shape even throughout this like slow, almost breaking down, it would seem, of the rice.
Right. Arborio has an extremely high proportion of amylopectin to amylose. It produces something very, very creamy, but it also can work against you because you have so much amylopectin that you can overcook it quite easily and end up with mush. That might be an advantage if you're ever trying to make like rice pudding. That might be the best use of arborio around versus the carnaroli, which when they developed it, they used the original variety of rice, which is Vialone Nano. And I've gone out of order a little bit here. It's really hard because it's like, how do you go? Do you go by popularity or do you go by existence of rice variety?
Can I help back you up just a bit?
Steer the ship? Yes, yeah. Please. Help
okay.
Clarify this for me.
There are two pretty commonly available short grain rices that work really well for risotto. There's one that's much harder to find, and this one that's much harder to find is more of like an origin rice of one of these that's available.
So there's three types. The two that are widely available, arborio and carnaroli. Then you have a third rice, the Vialone Nano. This one is the precursor of carnaroli. So they used the Vialone Nano and they interbred it with a Japanese variety of rice. And that's how they got the carnaroli.
The Vialone Nano is one parent of the carnaroli.
Yes.
Okay. The one word that has pectin in it, and the reason I'm remembering that is from our pectin conversations about that being like a binder, thickener kind of thing.
Yes. So, I was trying to pull that together somewhere along the line, but I hadn't gone far enough down to being like, how related is it to the pectin we use in jam? But I didn't get that far, and plus my notes were starting to get long at that point. I stopped, but
that makes sense.
Yes, but yes, right concept. I'm that is where the name comes from. Yes.
Okay. The pectin one and the one that helps rice keep its structure are present in all three of these rice varieties in different ratios.
Correct.
Depending on what outcome of risotto you want, that might inform the type of rice you use. Even beyond drilling it down to like only using these three specific types of rice for risotto, you could even further say, I want it to have more structure. So I'm going to use the carnaroli.
Carnaroli, yeah.
Okay. And if you were saying I want it to have more creaminess, you would maybe consider the arborio.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to read this excerpt. My friend lent me the Marcella Cosina book. She has a whole section in there about risotto, which broke my heart a little bit when I was reading it because we're not using her method because of reasons. But she had some great descriptors for all of these rice. And so I really wanted to read this little section for the Vialoni Nano because it really helped me understand like the differences. I could read you quotes about all three of them if you want, but I'm going to pick one because I like this one.
Okay. So here, back to Marcella's thoughts.
Marcella has thoughts. Marcella has lots of thoughts. Again, is in regards to the Vialoni Nano rice. A small, stubby, homely grain, well endowed with amylose, the starch that does not soften easily in cooking, although it has enough of the softer starch to qualify as a suitable variety for risotto. It is nearly the unanimous choice in the Veneto region, where the preferred consistency is loose rippling or all'onda, to use the Venetian expression, and where people are partial to a kernel that offers considerable resistance to the bite. It is an excellent variety to use for the delicately conceived Venetian-style risotto with seafood or spring vegetables.
Yum. I'm going to try to remember this is like the V of Vialone is Venetian style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
And that's stiffer because Venetians are tougher. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't get that far into like the origins of this. I didn't even bust out the On Food and Cooking for this. I just did Marcella and Kenji's.
Well, and savor and probably something else. You covered a lot of bases.
And my brain, yes.
Yeah. So 3 types of rice that can be used, and we're both using arborio today.
Yeah, that's what they had at Whole Foods when I was there. They didn't even have anything at Trader Joe's. They sometimes have like something along that line. But now I'm wishing I went to the other Brown Sally Market and got it because I probably would have been able to find at least one of the other two. When I was reading Kenji's and he was like, yeah, you don't want to really use arborio. Just don't do it. I was a little sad.
Oh, wow. Bubble bursted.
Really, really bursted.
And then there's one other, right? That's not like a common one.
It's usable, but it is the bomba variety of rice that comes from Spain, which they use for paella. Also makes suitable risotto if necessary, but not necessarily like our recommended variety.
Just if you have to make risotto and you only happen to have bomba rice, you can do it, but that should be the only circumstance.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so now I understand why those rices make a difference in getting to our ultimate soupy, creamy status. And now we come to the controversial part. Just throwing everything we knew about the risotto making process out the window, because we both always thought you've got to heat up your broth in a separate pan and it's got to be piping hot, to the point that we were reading a recipe the other day and we poo-pooed it because the person said just like put it in the microwave and heat it up, and we were like, that's, you can't do that, you can't do that.
Apparently,
you absolutely can.
And it doesn't even have to be hot. That's because you toasted that rice in oil first. And lots of risotto recipes do actually have you toast the rice first, but our friend Kenji had a brilliant moment of, well, brilliance. And word choice gets limited on this Maui Wowie, apparently. Smart cookie that Kenji was like, wait a minute, if I'm toasting my rice and we're supposed to keep that starchiness on the outside of the rice, aren't I, in fact, taking away some of those creamy components? And brilliantly came up with the idea of using your cooking liquid to rinse the rice first, so you retain all those starches that are on the outside of the grain of rice, then being able to toast your rice in butter or oil to enhance the flavor. And also that helps keep the structure of the grain a little bit better. He's smart cookie, this Kenji. Whereas in the traditional method, you would start by adding your butter to the pan. You'd add your rice, get that toasty, add your aromatics, cook those down a little bit, and then you start adding a little bit of your liquid from a hot pot on the back of the stove that has that broth hot. And you're just going to add that one cup at a time, although Marcella makes the controversial choice to do a half a cup at a time.
Wow.
She's drawing it out even further.
Of course she is, yeah.
So you're adding your liquid a little bit at a time and then stirring until it's completely absorbed. So it's like really labor intensive. And the idea behind that was that you're helping break the grain or move the grains around and like loosen the starch up so that you get more of those starches off and more creaminess happening.
And it's typically like a fairly high heat the whole time, right?
We always do it mostly on a medium heat when I was in culinary school, because you don't really like high heat because you're working with starch and you're getting water that's like coming out of there. If you had high heat and like you stop stirring for even a second, you would run the chance of ruining the entire thing or burning something. I think a medium heat is the best way to go on doing that method, because then you are still getting some of the action from the boiling, but also because you're moving it around, you're not risking burning. But I wouldn't have it necessarily on high heat.
Got it. It's a consistent heat the whole time.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Then what you're saying with Kenji, by comparison, if I understand it correctly, is that he's saying get your broth in a bowl or get your broth together. And he says chicken broth, wine. I'm using veggie broth and wine. Gretchen's using
mystery broth and wine.
Mystery broth and wine. So I'm kind of like Gretchen.
It's brothy.
Broth. You swish the rice in that broth that you're going to use later to keep the starch in that broth.
Yep.
And then toast the rice.
Right.
And then he says add the majority of the broth and put a lid on it, which is totally weird for risotto.
Yep.
Walk away.
Turn the heat down.
Turn the heat down. Walk away. Come back. Look at it. Stir it once. Lid it again. Walk away. Are you joking? Two times now. We just leave it alone with the lid on it. And then top it with the rest of the broth, or like add the rest of the broth in there.
And stir it really vigorously for a few minutes until that broth is, until you've reached the right consistency.
An extremely opposite approach.
Yeah. But it also feels like faster. The photographs of Kenji's process were really compelling because it was like toasted versus untoasted. Like there were two totally different consistencies. And then with the starch rinsed into the cooking liquid, I swear, one of the most photogenic risottos I have ever seen in my life. It was so beautiful because the little grains, you could see each individual grain. There was no like gloopiness to it, and like beautifully like light color too, which I'm sure partly is with this broth, but it was very, very lovely.
Of course it was. It's Kenji. I mean, he's amazing. But this is very exciting for us because you originally suggested this not only because Kenji, but also it's much easier. It's way less stirring, which is great for people who don't want to stand there and hold something or shouldn't be standing there and holding something for that long.
Yep.
So this is super fun. Of course, Kenji has another little bonus interesting component that we'll mention in a minute. So it doesn't even stop with him just completely changing the entire approach that we've known as risotto. It's going to do something else to it. But I am super excited to test it out.
It's going to be good.
So I have a much better understanding now of what rice is important for risotto, how to just generally approach this dish as a unique sort of entity. And now we get to test this new method. So we are kind of hybridizing our approach here today because we did want to stick with that original recipe we found for risotto with squash and apples and Parmesan, but we do want to use Kenji's method. Our recipe for the risotto with squash and apples comes from garlic and zest. The ingredients for that are 1 tablespoon olive oil, 1 tablespoon butter, 2 cups of a fall squash. I'm using butternut.
Same.
2 minced shallots. Garlic is optional. I'm not doing it.
Okay. That's
Gretchen
fine.
is doing it. And I'm laughing because I saw Gretchen put a note in here that said garlic should be like salt. We should just put it with everything. And I'd already decided not to do garlic. I was like, yeah.
Well, that was a high thought I had earlier while I was on the Maui Wowie. I was like, really, like, you should feel free to add garlic to whatever the fuck you want, which is really more of my point than like necessarily treating it like salt. I guess it should be like hot sauce, maybe. Treat it more like hot sauce. Some people love it in everything. Some people don't want it everywhere. I mean, it doesn't belong to some places. I just decided I was going to do a little bit of garlic because I felt like it.
So optional, but Gretchen's doing 1, and that's supposed to be pressed. And then 1 medium apple, peeled, seeded, and diced. 3/4 cup of arborio rice. 3 to 4 cups of broth. And a portion of that is replaced with wine. So I did 4 cups total, but 1 cup white wine with vegetable broth. And then we already talked about Gretchen's mystery broth. 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, finely grated. 3/4 teaspoon of dried sage, but we're both using fresh. So does that change the quantity?
It should actually make it less, but I figure I would do like some julienne of it and just kind of sprinkle it over the top. So maybe not even putting it in the risotto quite as much, or just at the very end, tossing like 1 chopped leaf in there. It should be less than the dried variety because dried would be less potent. However much sage you feel like putting in, I guess.
Dried, fresh, whatever you want. And then 1/2 teaspoon kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, 1 tablespoon of chopped parsley, which is also optional. I will not be doing that. And then here's our surprise ingredient from Mr. Kenji, 1/3 cup of heavy cream.
And
what are we doing with that?
He even goes the extra mile of whipping that cup of heavy cream and then folding it into the risotto because he wants to add a little air in there. Now I have to try that because I do.
We're doing that too. On top of changing the whole method, we're going to whip up some cream, and that goes in at the very end with the Parmesan. What special equipment do we need today?
Another part of the Kenji method is using a wide, low pan. Most recipes actually recommend kind of more like a sauce pot or a stock pot, but we want more surface area so that you don't get the chance of whatever's on the bottom burning nearly as much. So we're using a large saute pan. I'm using a 13-inch nonstick. Yours is the same.
Nonstick.
12-inch. Okay.
Yeah, 12.
And then a large measuring cup or bowl for doing the rice washing in your broth.
And what world level is this going to be then today?
2. World level 2.
Okay. Yeah. What would you have said a traditional risotto world level is?
Maybe a 3, but like I also think that, yeah, it's a little annoying to have to stand there and stir, but it's apparently the part that becomes really tricky is using the arborio rice. So I guess we should call it a 3 if you're using arborio versus the other types, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
And we have already measured everything, minced our shallot, peeled and diced our apples, and are pretty much ready to go.
I should be ready to roll it out here.
When we get into the kitchen, what's the first thing we're going to do?
We are going to swish our rice around in our cooking liquid and then leave that to drain for 5 minutes to make sure we get a fair amount of that liquid to come out. But we'll also be able to remove any excess liquid when we toast it. We're going to get that rice draining first, and then we will do some sauteing of apples.
Okay. Rinse our rice, saute some apples. The next part is starting the rice.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, yeah, after that'll be starting our rice toasting.
Let's go into the kitchen. Here we go.
Off we go.
So it just says to agitate a little bit, right?
Yeah. That wine smells good. So I am going to, and we decided to saute our apples in a separate pan because initially we were going to all do it in the same. So now, since our rice is draining for 5 minutes, we'll saute our apples. And those are going to kind of be just used as a garnish at the end. You can mix it in if you want, but I decided I want it to go on top instead of in the risotto. So
Same. So that's 1 tablespoon of butter and then the 1 medium apple peeled, seeded, and diced.
yes.
And what heat does that cook on?
I go with like a medium high heat for that.
Okay. And heat until?
Just until you start seeing a little bit of browning on the edges.
Okay. The last time I used that butter, I must have used a knife with garlic on it or something because it's like very garlicky.
Oh no!
That's okay. There's my garlic.
Here's your garlic. The merest whiff of garlic from the apple or from the butter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we mention that I'm gonna put crumble some bacon on top of mine?
No, we
Did I
have a
say
lot
that?
going on. No.
Yeah, I decided to get some bacon out because the suggested pairing was, what did it say, scallops or chicken or pork?
Are your apples in?
Not yet. My butter is in the pan and it's foaming a little bit, so it's almost ready.
Okay.
So I'm going to put mine in just a second. But I'm piling my bacon up right now. Moving it away from the stove a little bit. All right, I'm going in.
Okay.
Now, I could have probably waited another minute or two. Not very warm.
Yeah, same.
All right.
And stir these a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to let them sit like they are for just a minute. I am going to just kind of flip mine in the pan more than stirring.
I see. You can hear that sizzle.
Yeah.
Okay, so once we cook the apples, what are we doing with those?
We're just going to set them to the side and hold them for service.
Oh, that sounds fun.
The saying service part or?
Yeah, we'll hold for service.
Hold
I know
for
it's
service.
normal for you, but I'm like, oh, I work in a restaurant. Hold
No,
for service.
I think that's also like watching The Bear on Hulu.
Oh, so good.
I haven't finished it yet, so.
Okay, I won't say anything. But
Yeah,
let me know when you finish so we can talk about it. It's supposed to be browned?
just a little bit. Like it's
Just a
just
little
like
bit.
I'm looking for a little bit of cookedness, but I still want them to have a little structural integrity.
You want to crunch?
Yeah, or at least a satisfying toothiness. Probably could have put a little sage in here as well.
Ooh, let's do that. Good, such a good idea. And you're just gonna do like 1 leaf?
Yeah, my sage is really small, so I'm gonna do 3 small leaves.
Okay.
My bigger leaves on it don't look as nice, so I'm gonna do little 3 small leaves, but equivalent to like 1 normal size leaf of
Okay.
sage plant. So mine are probably done.
Okay.
There's kind of varying degrees of browning on them, but I've got some brown surfaces, I've got some not brown surfaces, but everything's at least seen some heat. So
you're good.
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
But I am just spreading it all over the counters. Woo! Hot apple.
Okay, I'm going just a teeny bit longer, pulling it off the heat. All right, now talk me through what we're doing again here.
Yeah. So we're going to turn our larger saute pan up to high heat, and we're going to add our butter and our rice. And we're going to toast that rice in the butter until it doesn't seem to have any more liquid on the outside of the grains, and it's like sort of a little translucent. Then we're going to add our squash and let that saute for a couple of minutes while it gets a little browning on it, and then the rice will still cook too. And once that's started to soften just a smidge, we'll add in our shallot and or garlic. Then once that's softened up after about a minute, we'll add our cooking liquid. And then we will stir that, bring it to a boil, and turn the heat all the way down, lid, walk away.
Whew. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Turn it on.
In goes the butter. How much butter here? Probably the same, like a tablespoon or 2 or something.
Whenever it says a tablespoon of butter.
Yeah, that's like air. That's not enough butter.
I am pretty sure I just put like 3 tablespoons of butter.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. This is why we like cooking together.
Yeah.
One of the many reasons.
When you were reading that before, I was like, yeah, I should have just altered this because I
Yeah.
always cook with way more butter than any of these recipes are calling for.
That's an
Right.
optional level of, or quantity of
Yeah,
butter
that's
in
the
every
minimum.
recipe.
Yeah,
That's where you
minimum.
start.
Get my bamboo spoon out here. All right, I'm going.
Okay.
Probably should have waited just a smidge longer, but
Okay. What are we waiting for in this moment?
the butter should be like foamy. So you should still see like the milk solids won't have started to turn colors yet or anything like that.
There's a little new
It's like,
layer of foam.
yeah.
All right, I'm going into.
So I thought maybe I was at the right place, but turns out I was a smidge early.
Are we looking for a toasted color or
Yeah.
translucent? We want to get the moisture out and have
Yeah.
it translucent. Okay.
It's really your preference though, because you could definitely take this. We might get a little extra color on here while the squash is in it.
Uh-huh.
More likely is that the squash, since the squash has its own moisture, it's going to start releasing that moisture in the pan. That would impede any further toasting, really. But you could take the toast further if you wanted to.
Okay. And is that really going to change the flavor a lot, or is that more about color and structure?
It's going to change the flavor because it's definitely going to make it quite nutty and toast. In Kenji's descriptions, he definitely was talking a bit more about structure than necessarily the flavor of it.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't think he was putting so much toast on it that it was going to be giving you
Discernible
nuttiness.
toastiness. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for us too, especially with all these other things we have going on, it's probably going to be less noticeable.
Although I did think it would be kind of good to maybe garnish with like pecans or...
Ooh, another crunch.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe like a smoky pecan.
Well, I have bacon, so I have a smoked
Oh yeah,
component,
you've got
but...
the smoke, yeah.
But if you had a smoky pecan, that would be excellent, yes.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I'm actually starting to get a little toast, like light blonde color on my grains here. So I think I'm going to go in with, although I'm very tempted to keep going with the toast because I love a good toast on my grains.
It's so pretty and it smells so good.
I know. I'm going to step over and grab my squash so that when I decide I have to go with it, I'll have it right next to me. And get it very toasty. And I have to turn the heat down just a smidge. I am using my power burner, so it is really doing the job. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Quite toasty. So I'm going in with my squash.
Okay.
Might be more than 2 cups of squash by the time I'm done with it here. So it's either the zigzag pre-cut squash or like the enormous cubes of pre-cut squash. I decided the zigzag squash would be much easier to cut than the giant cubes.
That makes sense. Yeah, we were feeling lazy, so we bought pre-cut squash, both of us. Good for us. Time management skills. We're just looking for the squash to kind of soften here.
Yeah, and mine, because of the zigzag cut, looks like it is softening pretty quickly.
Okay.
So I am going to go in with my aromatics right now.
Okay.
I think I am ready.
Okay. That's garlic and shallot for you.
Garlic and shallot for me, yes. Because my rice is looking really, really toasty now. So
go get in there. All right. It's almost time for the big...
I'm going. I'm
test run. All right.
Stirring my liquid because you got to make sure that the starch is suspended.
It's definitely boiling.
It calmed down quite a bit after the initial
sizzle.
Okay,
so we're bringing it back up to a boil, and then we put the lid on and turn the heat all the way as low as it can go.
Yep.
This is exciting.
I'm just hoping I didn't toast the fuck out of my rice, so that now it's just not gonna work. But we shall see.
Oh, that would make a difference if you toasted it too much.
It might be a little too toothsome, but I mean, I've toasted a lot of rice in my day, so it's never been unpleasant.
Sure.
And now since we rinse that rice out, I rinse the starch out so that it still can get creamy. The toastiness should just enhance the dish. Mine is fully simmering. Low, low, low. Lid on. Timer for 10 minutes. How are you doing over there?
Almost at a like full boil simmer everywhere. I've got that one hot corner, on this my big burner. I'm trying to get all the other ones to catch up.
Well, the Adonis was pretty delicious.
I agree. Every time I smell it as I lift it, I'm like, I don't know, it smells so sweet. But then I have it and I'm like, no.
But it's not, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably because you said you got Marsala, right?
Yes.
A dry Marsala, but the Marsala.
Yeah.
So I think to me, Marsala is much sweeter, much more grapey smelling than like sherry is. So, so that might be the difference for yours, is that
makes sense.
Really has that grapey aromatic.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm boiling. I'm going lid on all the way down. So I'm a few minutes behind you.
You are 1 minute behind me.
All right. We'll see you in the future, Gluttoneers. 10 minutes from now. 9 minutes from now.
All right. We are here at our 10-minute first round of cooking. Turning my timer off because there's 20 seconds left, and it's probably going to take me 20 seconds to take the lid off and give it a stir. So,
and I'm about a minute behind you, so Gretchen gets to tell me the future.
Oh, it smells so good. Oh man, here, look at this.
Looks pretty.
It's really dark brown.
Extra toasty.
Extra toasty, yes.
And talk me through the next step then.
So I'm just giving this quick stir, and then I am going to shake it out so that it's all even in the pan. No,
so we want it to be as even as possible, or as smooth as possible at this point.
Yes. And now I'm going to put the lid back on and put my timer on for another 10 minutes. Lid back on. 10 minutes. Start.
Okay. And now my turn to go. Lid off. I have a lot more liquid than you do, it looks like.
I'm wondering if I'm a little short on the liquid.
Okay.
How much did I tried to save. I don't know. I might end up having to add a little bit extra liquid. Seems like it's a little short.
Okay. Yeah, I have quite a bit. I don't even need to shake it because there's so much liquid.
It went back to the right place.
Yeah.
Now, did you put your lid on once it came to a boil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you put your lid on before you started to boil? That maybe it can attribute to some of the extra moisture retention, but if that's not a factor, it's not a factor.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just see what happens.
Yep. One more trip into the future.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. Mine lost all of its liquid. So I actually went in a little early with my extra liquid. Becca having different issues.
The exact opposite. I have way too much liquid. I don't think I'm going to add that last cup because it did say 3 to 4 cups and I have already put 3 in, and maybe that's the difference.
Same.
You did 3 too?
Yeah, I did 3 and then 1.
I don't understand when we have such wildly different outcomes sometimes when we're seemingly doing the same thing.
I know. It is really strange on occasion to how it shakes out.
Mm-hmm. You've got your lid off and you're stirring. Did you turn your heat back up?
I did, yes.
All right. So I got my lid off. I'm going to turn my heat back up. Yeah, like I said, not add that last cup for now.
Because theoretically, you have the less humidity. So I would not expect yours to dry out before mine. I would expect yours to be more dry than mine. This makes zero sense.
I don't understand anything that's happening.
Because, I think I might have to put even a little more liquid in here. I've got a wave, but I need to taste this to see where I'm at doneness-wise. I think I might have toasted mine rice too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Would that make a difference in how much moisture or liquid was absorbed?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be more. It should be less.
Mm-hmm.
That's the really baffling part.
I'm finally looking a little bit like some of the moisture's cooking out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Or liquid, I guess I should say, not moisture.
Yeah. the same.
The same.
But yeah, my grains are definitely toothsome.
Okay, let me taste mine.
Downright chewy.
Oh, mine are non-existent.
Like mushy?
Yeah, they're pretty mushy.
Oh no.
I know.
So I toasted too much. You might have toasted not quite enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not instilling a lot of confidence from my
No, this is not the risotto I had been imagining these many months. I'm sure Kenji did not do anything wrong. I'm sure this is on
user
us.
error. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm entirely sure I toasted mine way too far. I should have put my squash in way before I did.
Well, it's not too squishy, actually.
No? Okay, good. I was gonna say my grains of rice might be breaking apart.
Oh God, what's happening? I think I'm about out of liquid soon.
Okay, and you're probably.
So I'm probably gonna be done.
I gotta put more liquid in here.
Oh yeah, mine's not too done. There's a piece sticking to my tooth. Like I cannot get this thing out.
Like it is tooth
Yeah, it is part of my body now. All right, I'm turning my heat off because I don't want to lose too much liquid, or
Yeah. Well, yeah. This might been a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Have to do it again tomorrow.
Try again.
And I've got
Well, we still
an absolute crap ton of rice too. So
yeah, this is a lot. Oh, you have a lot. Jeez.
yeah, I have a big old box that I bought.
Should we let it cool a little before adding the cheese and whipped cream? Oh, we also whipped our heavy cream off air.
Yeah, in our time travel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but we used hand mixers because it's impossible for me to make whipped cream by hand.
I think we could go in with it now because part of the function of the cheese and the cream is to like help bring the temperature down so that it doesn't overcook.
You can do it.
I'm doing it. I'm going for it.
And then salt and pepper at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually just did a little salt addition a second ago.
Oh, okay.
It was like way undersalted, but
yeah, same. I was like, okay, well, so when do we add the flavor?
should be always adding flavor.
I know. I'm just being mean. Tasted bland.
Oh boy. Now I might be very liquidy. I have so much risotto.
Oh,
this is definitely not looking like his. I think, yeah, we like maybe part of our problem was introducing the squash. Like, had we cooked the squash on its own and then introduced it at the end, that might have been a good plan.
Yeah, like the apples more.
Yeah. This is so much risotto. Oh my God. I'm gonna be eating this for a week. Yeah, I definitely toasted my rice too much. So I answered the question, can you toast your rice too much? The answer is yes. I'm surprised how that not so much amount of cream is made this extremely creamy.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of cream, actually. Kind of tasting better with every stir, though.
Yeah. Well, mine's definitely toothsome, as I keep saying, to the point where, yeah, my conclusion is there is a point where you have toasted too much, and I managed to hit it. My instinct to toast may have been, I didn't hit the right level of toast. So.
You flew too close to the toast flame, Gretchen.
Yeah, I did. I really, really did.
The other thing about adding the squash is it made everything so yellow.
Yes. Yeah.
Or
so
orange.
Orange. Yeah. I mean, we definitely could have avoided that by cooking it on its own and adding it at the end.
Yeah. Survey says next time.
Cook separately.
Yeah. Rice only.
And the flavor's pretty. Really good. Yeah. I like how it tastes. The texture's a little odd.
It is a little odd. And I'm not going to say anything against Kenji's methodology. And like we said, this is probably user error. But it feels a little bit like he rushed it. And then you add the whipped cream to compensate for the loss of the creaminess in the cooking.
Wondering if this is not a fault of the arboreal rice as well. Because he did say he uses the other kind.
But did he say you cannot at all use?
No.
Okay. Just not recommended.
Right.
So it should work.
And
I guess it technically works.
Keep eating it. It's like the melon pasta.
Yeah, you just can't stop. I know I told you, but I don't think I told the Gluttoneers that I've already made the melon pasta again.
I know. I was listening to when I was working on the episode, and I was listening to it, I was like, you were very enthralled with the melon pasta. So it doesn't
I
surprise
love
me.
it. I love it so much.
Yeah, I think I'll give this another go just because I think it'll work. But further tests will have to be conducted with arborio versus carnaroli.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. But it actually tastes really good. And I haven't
Yeah.
even added the apple.
Mm-mm.
Have you
Me
tried
either.
it with that?
Mm-mm. Hold on.
Okay, let's do that. A little bit of sage.
That's really good.
Yeah,
I really like that.
I do too. Yum.
Mm-hmm. Oh, perfect fall dinner.
Really is. Mine
She
is
said.
not like a soupy, wavy consistency though.
Mine is.
Well done.
So I got that part right.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, doesn't hurt to try things. And
No.
this was an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think
So-
I'll have to try it again
Yeah.
without the squash
Mm-hmm.
and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. But it is delicious, and I am going to eat a lot of it right now.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, once
None.
again, we learned a lot. I still
Yeah.
say level 2. I agree with your original assessment
Great. Glad I hit it on the head.
on the short grain head.
Yep.
We get a new method, maybe. We'll see. Let us know, Gluttoneers, if you make this and how it comes out for you.
Yeah. We'll do updates.
Mm-hmm. We will post the recipe at highgluttony.com eventually, and
Yep.
we will share some photos. We hope, if we remember to take them right now.
Yeah.
And yeah. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping us grow. We're so excited to see our new listeners around the globe. Hello, India and
Woo!
Belgium and Ireland. Hello, hello.
Oh, I didn't know about Belgium. That's exciting.
Like one of our top places is Belgium.
Oh,
I know.
welcome, Belgium. Thank
Hello.
you. I'm so
So thank you
flattered.
for joining us. Keep telling everybody incessantly about us, and like, subscribe, follow, rate, comment only if it's nice.
Yeah. We don't want any bad reviews. No, thank you.
No,
Thanks.
thank you.
This ego stroking only. Thanks.
All right. Well, off we go.
Off we go.
Risotto.
Risotto.
Off we
Risotto.
off we go. Zotto.
That's better. You're right. That's better.